What if the real reason your legs are getting weaker isn't because you're eating the wrong foods, but because you're eating them at the wrong time? Most people over 60 focus on what to eat for stronger muscles. More eggs, more protein, more healthy foods. But there's a hidden mistake that could be stopping your leg muscles from getting the full benefit of everything you're already eating. And the scary part? Many people make this mistake every single day without realizing it. In today's video, you'll discover why the timing of your meals can have a powerful effect on muscle strength, balance, and mobility, and how one simple change could help your legs stay stronger for years to come. And before we finish, I'll show you a quick at-home test that may reveal whether your leg strength is already starting to decline. Many adults over 60 believe that if they're eating enough protein, they're doing everything right. But that's not always true. In fact, two people can eat the exact same amount of protein in a day, and one may maintain strong legs while the other continues losing muscle. Why? Because your muscles don't just care about how much protein you eat. They also care about when they receive it. And this matters more than most people realize. Weak leg muscles don't just make it harder to walk. They can affect balance, confidence, independence, and increase the risk of serious falls. The good news is that fixing this doesn't require expensive supplements, complicated diets, or hours in the gym. Today, I'm going to show you a simple breakfast and protein timing strategy that can help your muscles make better use of the food you're already eating. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Most people think muscle loss happens because they're not eating enough protein. But what if I told you that's often not the real problem? In fact, many older adults are already eating enough protein over the course of the day. Yet their leg muscles continue getting weaker. Why? Because your muscles don't simply count how much protein you eat. They pay attention to how and when that protein arrives. And this is where age changes the rules. As we get older, our muscles become less responsive to protein. Scientists call this anabolic resistance. Don't worry about the name. Here's what it means in plain English. The amount of protein that easily helped maintain muscle at age the 30th of may not create the same response at age 65 or 70. Your muscles now require a stronger signal. And researchers have found that for many older adults, that signal usually starts around 25 to 30 grams of protein in a meal. Now here's the mistake millions of people make every day. Breakfast might be toast and tea. Lunch might be a small sandwich. Then dinner becomes the huge protein meal of the day. At first glance, that seems perfectly reasonable. But your muscles may see it very differently. Imagine trying to water a plant once a week instead of giving it smaller amounts regularly. The total water might be the same. The result won't be. Your muscles work in a surprisingly similar way. If a meal doesn't provide enough protein to trigger that muscle-building signal, your muscles may respond very little, even if your total daily protein looks good on paper. Which means the issue isn't always protein amount, it's protein distribution. And there's one meal where this mistake causes the most damage. A meal that many older adults skip, rush through, or barely think about. Ironically, it's also the meal that comes immediately after your body's longest period without food. Now let's talk about what happens while you're asleep. Because this may be one of the biggest reasons so many adults wake up with weaker muscles year after year without realizing it. Every night, your body goes for hours without food. No protein, no calories, no new building materials for your muscles. And during that time, your body still has work to do. Your heart keeps beating. Your brain keeps working. Your organs keep running. To make that happen, your body has to find fuel from somewhere. And part of that fuel comes from stored energy, including amino acids that can come from your muscle tissue. This is completely normal. It happens to everyone. The problem is what happens next. When we're younger, the body is usually very good at rebuilding what was lost. But as we age, rebuilding becomes slower and less efficient. That's why the morning hours become so important. In other words, your muscles don't just care about what happened at dinner last night. They care about what happens after you wake up. And here's the mistake many people make. They wake up, have a cup of coffee, maybe some toast, maybe nothing at all. Then several more hours pass before they eat meaningful protein. What most people don't realize is that this extends the recovery gap even longer. It's like delaying repairs on a house after a storm. The longer you wait, the more ground you have to make up. Now, does that mean you need to eat the second you open your eyes? Not necessarily. In fact, there's a specific timing window that appears to work best for many older adults. And missing that window could be costing you far more muscle strength than you think. So what should you actually do? After everything we've talked about, the goal is surprisingly simple. And as early as possible and give your muscles the signal they've been waiting for. And that starts with timing. For many older adults, one of the most effective habits is eating a protein-rich breakfast within about 30 to 60 minutes of waking up. Why? Because after hours without food, your muscles are primed to respond. Think of it like turning the lights back on after a long night. The sooner your body receives the right nutrients, the sooner it can shift from breaking down tissue to repairing and maintaining it. But timing alone isn't enough. This is where most people still fall short. They eat breakfast, but they don't eat enough protein to trigger a meaningful muscle response. A piece of toast, a small bowl of cereal, a cup of tea, and a biscuit. That may satisfy hunger. It doesn't necessarily send a strong signal to your muscles. For many adults over 60, the real target is closer to 25 to 30 grams of protein at breakfast, not just some protein, a specific amount that helps your muscles recognize it's time to rebuild and maintain strength. And there's one more piece that often gets overlooked. Because strong legs aren't just about building muscle, they're about using muscle. Every step you take depends on muscles contracting properly. And for that, your body also relies on nutrients like potassium, magnesium, and healthy fats. Without them, even well-fed muscles may not perform at their best. Now here's the question most people ask. Okay, what does a breakfast with 25 to 30 grams of protein actually look like? The answer is probably much easier than you think. In fact, the breakfast I'm about to show you uses ordinary foods that many people already have in their kitchen. And one of the ingredients surprises almost everyone. Now that you know the timing strategy, let's talk about the foods that make it work. And here's something important. I'm not ranking these based on which food has the most protein. I'm ranking them based on how well they help your muscles after that overnight fasting period. Because remember, the goal isn't just eating protein. The goal is keeping your muscles supplied with what they need for as long as possible. Let's start with one of the most overlooked foods on this list. One, cottage cheese. If there's one breakfast food many seniors underestimate, it's paneer. Why? Because it's rich in casein protein, a slow-digesting protein that releases amino acids gradually for hours. In other words, instead of giving your muscles a quick burst and then disappearing, it helps extend muscle support well into the morning. Just half a cup provides roughly 12 to 14 grams of protein. And later, I'll show you how combining this with one other food can help you reach the muscle building target surprisingly easily. Number 2, quinoa. Most grains aren't complete proteins. Quinoa is different. It contains all 9 essential amino acids your muscles need. It also provides magnesium, which plays an important role in muscle relaxation and reducing cramps. A cooked cup delivers around 8 grams of protein and works well as a warm breakfast bowl. But here's where things get even more interesting. Protein alone isn't enough. Your muscles also need nutrients that help them recover and function properly. That's where the next foods come in. Number 3, walnuts and almonds. A small handful adds healthy fats, extra protein, and vitamin E. These nutrients help support recovery and may help combat some of the inflammation that naturally increases with age. They're also one of the easiest ways to increase breakfast nutrition without increasing meal size. Number 4, ground flax seeds. Tiny food. Big impact. Just 1 tablespoon provides omega-3 fatty acids that help support a healthy inflammatory response. And inflammation is one of the hidden factors associated with age-related muscle decline. Sprinkle them over yogurt, quinoa, or oatmeal, and you're done. Now let's move to a nutrient that many older adults don't realize they're lacking. One that directly affects how your muscles receive signals from your brain. Number 5, pumpkin seeds. These are packed with magnesium and zinc. Zinc helps support communication between nerves and muscles. That matters because every step you take starts with a signal traveling from your brain to your muscles. As we age, maintaining that connection becomes increasingly important. Number 6, spinach. Spinach contains natural nitrates. Your body converts these into nitric oxide, which helps improve blood flow. Why does that matter? Because nutrients and oxygen have to reach your leg muscles before they can be used. Better circulation means better delivery. And speaking of circulation, the next food might surprise you. It's something professional athletes have used for years. Number 7, beetroot juice. Beetroot is naturally rich in nitrates and has become popular among endurance athletes. But it's not just for athletes. Improved circulation may help support walking performance and stamina, which is why many older adults include it a few times per week. Even a small glass alongside breakfast can fit easily into this strategy. Now let's look at two foods that help support both muscles and joints at the same time. Number 8, avocado. Many people think bananas are the potassium champion, but avocado actually contains even more potassium per serving. It also provides healthy fats that support overall muscle and joint health. A few slices alongside eggs or whole grain toast can make a big difference. Number 9, berries. Blueberries and strawberries are loaded with antioxidants. These compounds help protect cells from oxidative stress, a process that naturally increases with age and may contribute to slower recovery. They're simple, tasty, and pair perfectly with protein-rich breakfasts. And finally, if you're thinking, this all sounds good, but I don't want dairy every day, this last option is for you. Number 10, besan chila or moong dal pancake. These are among the best plant-based breakfast choices for older adults. A serving can provide roughly 15 to 20 grams of protein, along with fiber and important minerals. They're filling, easy to digest, and make it much easier to reach your breakfast protein goal. But here's the mistake many people make. They know the foods. They understand the timing. Yet they still fail to hit that crucial 25 to 30 gram protein target. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, I understand the timing. I understand the protein target. But what does that actually look like on a plate? So let's make this incredibly simple. Here are two breakfasts designed specifically to help older adults reach that important 25 to 30 gram protein range without complicated recipes, expensive supplements, or spending half the morning in the kitchen. Start with 2 whole eggs. Add a slice of whole grain toast topped with avocado. Then include a small handful of walnuts on the side. And don't forget a large glass of water to help support hydration after a long night's sleep. Together, this combination provides roughly 22 to 25 grams of protein, along with healthy fats, potassium, and minerals that help support muscle function and recovery. More importantly, it delivers those nutrients when your muscles are most ready to use them. Now, if you're thinking, that sounds good, but I prefer lighter or mostly plant-based breakfasts, here's another option. Start with a warm bowl of quinoa porridge. Add 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed. On the side, include cottage cheese for an additional protein boost. Then top everything with a handful of berries and a sprinkle of pumpkin seeds. This combination provides roughly 24 to 28 grams of protein while also delivering magnesium, zinc, antioxidants, and healthy fats. In other words, you're not just feeding your muscles. You're supporting the systems that help those muscles work properly. And here's what I want you to notice. Neither of these breakfasts is extreme. No fancy powders. No expensive supplements. No complicated meal plans, just ordinary foods arranged in a way that works with your body's biology instead of against it. But there's still one important question we haven't answered. How do you know if your leg strength is already starting to decline? Because there is a surprisingly simple test you can do at home in less than 30 seconds. And the results may tell you more about your future mobility than you expect. Now, before you think this only applies to breakfast, there's something important you need to understand. This isn't just a morning strategy. It's a full-day muscle protection pattern, because your muscles don't reset after breakfast and suddenly stop caring about protein timing. They continue responding all day long. And this is where many people unknowingly lose progress. They might do everything right in the morning, then fall back into old habits later in the day. So here's the simple rule to remember. If your goal is to maintain leg strength as you age, don't think in terms of one perfect meal. Think in terms of steady support throughout the day. Research on older adults shows something very important here. When protein is evenly distributed across meals, instead of being heavily concentrated in just one sitting, the body tends to maintain muscle more effectively over time. Not because total protein suddenly changes, but because your muscles receive more consistent repair signals. Now let's make this practical. Instead of treating dinner as the main protein event of the day, try to imagine something different. Think of your muscles like a garden. If you pour all the water at once, the soil gets overwhelmed, and much of it is wasted or runs off. But if you give smaller amounts at regular intervals, the soil absorbs it properly, and the plants stay nourished for longer. Your muscles respond in a very similar way. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are not separate events. They are part of one continuous process of maintenance. And this is especially important for your legs. You want to stop the overnight muscle drain as early as possible and give your muscles the signal they've been waiting for. And that starts with timing. For many older adults, one of the most effective habits is eating a protein-rich breakfast within about 30 to 60 minutes of waking up. Why? Because after hours without food, your muscles are primed to respond. Think of it like turning the lights back on after a long night. The sooner your body receives the right nutrients, the sooner it can shift from breaking down tissue to repairing and maintaining it. But timing alone isn't enough. This is where most people still fall short. They eat breakfast, but they don't eat enough protein to trigger a meaningful muscle response. A piece of toast, a small bowl of cereal, a cup of tea, and a biscuit. That may satisfy hunger. It doesn't necessarily send a strong signal to your muscles. For many adults over 60, the real target is closer to 25 to 30 grams of protein at breakfast, not just some protein. A specific amount that helps your muscles recognize it's time to rebuild and maintain strength. And there's one more piece that often gets overlooked. Because strong legs aren't just about building muscle. They're about using muscle. Every step you take depends on muscles contracting properly. And for that, your body also relies on nutrients like potassium, magnesium, and healthy fats. Without them, even well-fed muscles may not perform at their best. Now here's the question most people ask. Okay, what does a breakfast with 25 to 30 grams of protein actually look like? The answer is probably much easier than you think. In fact, the breakfast I'm about to show you uses ordinary foods that many people already have in their kitchen. And one of the ingredients surprises almost everyone. Now that you know the timing strategy, let's talk about the foods that make it work. And here's something important. I'm not ranking these based on which food has the most protein. I'm ranking them based on how well they help your muscles after that overnight fasting period. Because remember, the goal isn't just eating protein. The goal is keeping your muscles supplied with what they need for as long as possible. Let's start with one of the most overlooked foods on this list. One, cottage cheese. If there's one breakfast food many seniors underestimate, it's paneer. Why?